Okay, a few days ago I made a Korean dish called Bulgogi. I made it for our next door neighbor who's South Korean and very pregnant. Um, my son liked it so much, and I'm going to make it again. And I'm going to get more detail for you this time so you can actually see what I have in it. Okay, this is Asian pears. Now, of course, I've peeled them, cut them, and seeded them. And I'm going to put these into a blender. Okay, this is an onion, about one medium onion, peeled and quartered. That goes in the blender as well. And I have about 4 cloves of garlic to throw in the blender. Okay, now with that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of sesame oil, a quarter of a cup of soy sauce, a tablespoon of chili oil. This is sake, Japanese sake. You can use this, or you can use any kind of a rice wine or a sherry if you have. You're only going to use about 3 tablespoons of that, and then you're going to use 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Now, Asian vinegar is more preferable than the regular type of white vinegar you might buy somewhere else. Okay. On top of that, we're going to have about 3 tablespoons of sugar. Now, you can use low-calorie sweetener if you like instead of the sugar. The idea is this marinade you're going to make is supposed to be sweet and a little bit spicy. Okay, and it's going to make kind of a thick marinade. I'll show you some of that later on. And then basically I've got a piece of steak here. This is a top-side steak. And I'm going to slice this very thinly across the grain here in slices, less than 1/4 of an inch thick. So people work in millimeters, that's about 6 mil. You want to try to get it as thin as possible. All right. Now this dish is basically eaten with rice, and typically it's served in romaine lettuce leaves with the rice, and most of the times they use a glutinous rice. It's just a sticky rice. You don't have to do that. Works fine if you don't. And then the meat's just placed on top, and then it's rolled up in little parcels, kind of like a burrito. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix this stuff up and make the marinade, and I'll show you that when it's done. Okay, this is the marinade mixture. Looks kind of disgusting, but it's not really. If you don't have a blender or a food processor to do this, by all means, you can just chop it all up very finely and just add your wet ingredients to it. And it'll give you the same flavor, I think. It just helps to have a blender to blend it all up. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick this steak in the freezer and let it freeze for about an hour, so it makes it easier to cut in thin slices. Okay, and we'll check back later. Okay, I've frozen that steak for about an hour, and I'm just doing real thin cuts of meat. You can see how thin I'm slicing it there. And I'm just going to slice up this whole steak like that. Okay, all the beef sliced up, and I've put it in the bowl with the marinade. And we're going to put it in the refrigerator and let it marinate overnight. Okay, I got the bulgogi out in the refrigerator. I've let it set for about 45 minutes out here. Kind of bring it back up to room temperature. Still in the marinade. Alright, and I started cooking it on the cast iron griddle that I use for this. Use probably like a George Foreman grill if you want, something like that. As long as you get it hot enough so that it sears the meat, should be fine. Okay, you're going to want to fry this in small batches. You're going to cook it for about 3 or 4 minutes a batch. I've got a pretty high heat there. You want it to start browning up. You see it turning brown on the edges. Okay. That's what you want. And probably better off if you put it in the oven. Keep it warm while you're cooking the rest of the batches. Okay, we're going to continue cooking this down, and we'll be back. Okay, well that's still cooking. I've got some romaine lettuce here, and I'm going to cut the end of it off, wash it all really well, and get the excess water off of it. I lay it out to dry on paper towels there to dry it out a little bit. Smaller leaves like these, save them and put them in a salad. You're going to use the bigger leaves as a wrapper for your bulgogi with rice in it. Okay, the rest of the beef here is finished cooking up. Now one thing, like I said, I use Asian pears in my marinade. You can use pear juice, or you can use regular pears. You don't have to be the Asian pears, particularly. You can even use a different type of fruit if you like. I've heard people making it with kiwi. It's just for the extra flavoring, and it helps to tenderize the meat is all. Okay. I'll finish cooking this. Alright, now there's your Korean bulgogi. Typically it's served on lettuce leaf. I say I've used romaine there. You add rice to it. This is a Thai jasmine fragrant rice that I use, but you can use any kind of rice you like. And you just top it with the bulgogi on the top. And then you roll it up, kind of like rolling up a burrito. And that's the way you eat it. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy.